Hey everybody, Catbird here again. You probably just watched my review of the Gossamer Gear Mariposa 60, and so I wanted to take a few moments to show you one way to pack a backpack. There are many ways to do this, and there's a lot of personal preference, but I found a few things in my recent thru-hike of the Appalachian Trail, or I should say my recent thru-hike attempt. And so without any further ado, I will show you how I'm loading my pack and also just explain why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And that may help you to find some ways that work better for you. So we're going to start with the big things. So here is my Gossamer Gear Mariposa 60, and I'm going to start with loading my sleep system. And the reason that I load the sleep system first is because it's probably the last thing I need. And with it being at the bottom, it will likely stay drier. Now, one of the things that is kind of tricky about the Mariposa is the opening of the main compartment is a little tight, I think. So, you see I just stuck in my sleep system. That includes my sleeping bag, my pillow, and my bedclothes. So that's all the way in the main compartment in the bottom. And then next, I generally place my sleeping pad. And I place the sleeping pad next because I'm going to need it before I need my sleeping system, but probably after everything else. So the other things in my pack, I'm likely to access throughout the day. I'm probably going to need them before I'm going to need my sleep system. So sleep system and sleep pad on the bottom. Next, I place my clothing, and I have this dry sack. And this has all of my extra clothes, anything that's clean, anything that I want to keep dry, my puffy, those are all here. Now, one exception, or a few exceptions to that, are my hat and my gloves. Those things are in another stuff sack, and we'll get to that in a minute. But those things that I don't need all the time, I'm not going to need my extra clothes throughout the day, probably at all. I'm probably not going to need them today at all at any time, so they can go in kind of sooner rather than later. What you may hear from many people is to place a heavy item right in the middle of the back, right behind the shoulder blades, and as close to the body as possible. So next goes my bear canister and my food. And my bear canister is the BV 450, which will store 4 to 5 days worth of food. It will fit sideways horizontally in my pack like this. So I place that next. This is again another one of those items that not barely fits. It's a tighter fit in the throat of the pack than I might prefer. It goes in okay, but it would be nice if there was just a touch more space there, if it went in just a little bit easier. So next is my tent. Well, before we move on from the food, the idea behind having the food at your shoulder blades and close to your body is for weight distribution and center of gravity. And the pack just carries nicely when the weight is there between your shoulder blades or at your shoulder blades and very close to your body. So that really helps with your center of gravity. My next item then would be my tent. And I generally want the tent to be one of, if not the last item that goes in my main compartment. And the reason that I like that is because if I am in a hurry to set up camp at the end of the day, or at any point in time during the day, I need to set up camp, I want my tent to be the easiest thing to access so that everything else can hopefully stay dry as I'm setting up my tent. So there's the main compartment. Now I would take any clothes as I change layers during the day. I'll take my fleece and I'll stuff that here in the top right next to my tent. and that will fill out the top portion of this pack. Otherwise, the main compartment is full at this point. And again, we're going from bottom to top with the things that are least used to the things that are most used. So, sleep system, sleeping pad, extra clothing, food, tent. Pretty straightforward, and everything's pretty accessible. Now, I normally have my fleece in the top here, so it's it normally fills up a little bit nicer than it is at the moment. And I probably should have grabbed my fleece to put in here so that it filled out the way that I would like for it to fill out. But main compartment is filled at this point. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is this outer pocket. And this outer pocket is where I generally put all the things that I need pretty quickly throughout the day. And that would normally be like my gloves and hat, which are in this dry sack. My rain pants, rain coat, all out here on this outer side, outer pocket. My gaiters, if I should need them, go here in the outer pocket. Also, my rain cover, and this is a Dutchware Gears rain cover. Fits this pack perfectly. And then I normally place my Tyvek, which I use if I'm going to be sleeping in a shelter. And sometimes if I think it's going to be especially rainy, I'll put it underneath my tent. But my tent doesn't require a rain cover, ground cloth. So there's this compartment. I also place my book and writing materials here. They're in a bag that is safe from the elements. So even though it's not really where I would prefer to have them, this is quick, easy access, so I have that throughout the day. That's also just a little bit big for the side compartment, which we'll talk about next. Here on the side is a large side compartment, and it's very tall and it's a nice size. I don't have a very good shot of it here. Now you can see a little bit better. This side compartment is where I place all of the things that I need throughout the day that I might need in a real pinch. Those things would be my poop trowel, my toilet paper, first aid, my charging kit for my electronics, my soap. You also notice that I keep sanitizer here right on one of the straps. And I believe that's all that I have that goes there in that side compartment. Anything that I might need throughout the day, quick, easy access stuff, generally goes in here. And then finally, well, I guess not quite finally, we're getting closer to the end here. We have this lower outside pocket here, which I use to place a water bottle and my water filtration system. So all my water items are there together on that side. And you can see got a yard sale going on here. All my stuff's falling out of my water filtration system. I'll get that later. So water here in this lower pocket, I have a water bottle that's filled or just an extra water bottle, and then my water filtration system all there in one place. If anything gets wet, doesn't matter, it's all wet. Then up here in this upper pocket, which is again a little hard to see, there's another upper pocket here. This is where I put my cook set, and it fits in there pretty nicely. I happen to be hiking with another hiker who uses a similar cook set to mine, and that's exactly where she placed her cook set. It fits the Toke's 550 and 650 cook pot pretty well. one of the things I missed in my daily use pocket was my headlamp, and so I'm going to put that in there now. Then I have a couple other items here. So I have the this is called the bottle rocket. This is an accessory from Gossamer Gear. Water bottle goes directly in that. And if you've watched my other videos, you've seen me hiking with a bottle of water in my face. That's because that's right there. That's extremely accessible. On the other strap here, you'll see I've added 2 loops, and they're just a loop with shock cord, and then the shock cord has a knot tied onto it, and then this loop is tied on to the loops that are built into the strap here. And then what I do is I use that to hold my tripod, which I like to use throughout the day. You could put your any pole, like a trekking pole, if you wanted to hold a trekking pole, that if you wanted to store a trekking pole, you didn't want to have to hold it in your hands. A solution like that might work out pretty well for you. I found that I put a couple different things here throughout my hike, but in the end, my tripod pretty much lived there. And then I have my REI Co-op towel, which I strap right here. And there's this loop that's here, and I stuff it down in that loop again so that it's not flapping in the wind and getting tangled up in my trekking poles. And then I believe the last thing that we have here is my camp shoe loop. And this is just a really small carabiner with a loop of paracord tied to it. And what I do is run that through my camp shoes. And then loop it back on the carabiner again. And that's everything. Now, I guess there are two other compartments I haven't talked about yet. Almost missed that. Those are the hip belt pockets. And there are 2. And I like to call those the junk drawers, because that's pretty much what they become. Those things that you need regular access to. The things that I keep in here are chapstick, my glass cleaner, and my compass. Sometimes I will throw a lighter in there just so I have a lighter handy if I need it. Occasionally I carry a toothpick in there, things like that. When I'm wearing shorts or something that don't have a nice pocket on them, I'll throw my pocket knife in there. Whatever, whatever works out for you. Sometimes my cell phone goes in there. Sometimes my snacks go in there throughout the day. If I have a snack that I know I'm going to want soon, I'll put them in the junk drawers or the hip belt pockets. I also will sometimes put my cell phone in there. I will say it's important to note that the zippers should be all the way closed. I almost lost a couple items when I had the zipper just a little bit open, and it would have been pretty disappointing had I lost the things that fell out on the trail. So I think that's it. I think that's a full review of how I load my Gossamer Gear 60, Mariposa 60, excuse me. And I hope that you found this useful, and I hope that you'll come back and watch the rest of my videos and maybe join me on a hike. So until next time, I'll see you down the trail.